Hi guys, let's go and start solving some story problems. So first things first, let's go over our steps. Step number 1, we need to read the problem. Step number 2, we need to circle or write down any key numbers. Now this step is so important because these key numbers are the numbers we're going to be working with if we're adding, if we're subtracting. Really keep an eye out for those. Step number 3, underline the question. So why is underlining the question so important? Well, because we need to figure out what on earth are we trying to find. We're trying to find how much apples there are. Are we trying to find how many more friends voted for something else? We need to know what we're trying to find. What is the problem we're trying to solve? All right, step number 4, creating that part-part whole. The reason we create this part-part whole is so then it tells us, it could give us a big clue whether or not we are adding or subtracting. Helps us organize our information. Step number 5 is solve. The big time leagues, the big deal, the big thing. We're trying to solve using addition or subtraction with the information we got from steps 2, 3, and 4. Last but not least, I have to stress step number 6, check your work. You guys, this one is one of the most important steps of this whole thing, so please make sure that you check your work at the very end. All right, I don't know about y'all, I feel pretty ready to go, so let's get started. All right, here's our problem. One day, Mr. Porter wanted to have hamsters at his pet shop. He had a total of 163 hamsters in his shop. After a week, 54 hamsters were adopted. Mr. Porter was so happy. How many hamsters does Mr. Porter have left in his shop to take care of now? All right, awesome job. We've completed step number 1. So before I go on to the next slide, I want you to pause and think, what was step number 2? If you said circling key numbers, give yourself a round of applause, give yourself a pat on the back. Excellent job. So as we're looking right over here, I found 2 really big key numbers to look at, 163 and 54. Now, I also went ahead and boxed a little bit of information around them. Like right here, this keyword total is probably going to help us out. And the number of hamsters that were adopted is also going to help us out. So here's my number 1 and number 2. All right, let's hop on down to step number 3. Step number 3 is underlining the question. So usually a question in a story problem is going to be at the very bottom. So do you guys see where I see? I see it right over here. How many hamsters does Mr. Porter have left in his shop to take care of now? Now, I'm looking at this and I already see a really big keyword. I hope you guys see it too. Right over here, the word left in his shop now. I bet that's going to help us out later. All right, y'all ready for step number 4? We're creating that part-part whole. So with the information we've already collected, we already took that 163, we already took that 54, and we put the information down here. The total number of hamsters Mr. Porter had was 163. The number of adopted hamsters was 54, and we underlined our question. How many hamsters does Mr. Porter have left in his shop to take care of? So we're using this little organizer here to put our numbers into place. This is going to help us figure out if we're adding or subtracting. So looking at the information right over here, what do you guys think? Where is 163 going to go? Well, I'm looking at it right here, and you guys remember that keyword I said earlier? The word total. What does total mean? The total number of hamsters. All of the hamsters he has, the whole amount of hamsters he has in his shop. So 163 is going to go right over here, which makes our job pretty easy. The number of hamsters adopted, 54. There's only 2 spaces left, but why does this go here? Well, out of this whole number of hamsters he had in his pet shop, 54 of those 63 got adopted. So what are we trying to find, a part or a whole? This makes it really, really easy. We know that we're trying to find the other part to this diagram. All right, guys, let's take a look at all of our clues. Before we solve, let's take a look. Our strip diagram told us that the whole number is going to be 163, and our part is going to be is going to be 54. And we also found a big key word over here, the word left. Okay, so looking at clue number 1 and clue number 2, what do you guys think? Are we adding or are we subtracting? After much consideration, after really thinking about it, I think that we are indeed subtracting. Now, why are we subtracting exactly? Well, remember, when we put things into a part-part whole, if we have 2 parts, we're adding. If we have a whole and a part, we are subtracting. And this big keyword right over here, the word left. That's a keyword that tells you it's subtraction. Pause, you're subtracting. Make sure you keep an eye out for those keywords. All right, guys, now it's your turn. You can use any strategy you like. What are you going to do to solve this problem? All right, before I show you guys what I got, next, check your work. I'm not going to show you my answer just yet. So, how exactly do we check our work? Well, first thing, you can use a different strategy. If you used an open number line, maybe use your HTO chart or maybe use some flexible thinking. See if you get the same number. Another strategy you can use is rereading the problem. Does your answer make sense? So if we're subtracting, is our number going to get bigger or smaller? Do you think that we're going to have over 1,000 hamsters or probably less than 163? Did you answer the question? This is the big one. Make sure your answer makes sense and you answered the question. So if it's asking us about hamsters, we're probably not going to say, well, he had 23 parrots. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't answer the question, and it's just straight up silly. Next is solve with a friend. Find someone around you. See if they can solve. And if you get the same number, that pretty much tells us you're correct. All right, guys, here we go. The big moment. After your solving, let's see how many hamsters he had left. 109 hamsters left in his shop. Holy cow, that's a lot of hamsters. So, what do you guys think? Did you get the same number as I did? And if you did, awesome job. Give yourself a pat on the back. Give yourself a round of applause. I'm applauding you from way over here. Excellent job. Now, don't worry. If you didn't get this answer, that's okay. Just go back and try one more time. Use these steps to help you anytime you solve a story problem. Excellent solving. I'll see you in the next video.